Hi, my name is John. We're in my shop today. We're going to talk gripfids. The gripfid was invented by the late British knotting expert Stuart Grainger. This is one he made with a Turk's head knot. Since 2001, I've been making and selling gripfids following Stuart's methods, fabricating them from brass tubing. And believe me, it was a challenge to make the point smooth. The gripfid works beautifully for ply splitting. My wife, Linda Hendrickson, uses gripfids to make her ply-split baskets. You can see how the gripfid easily splits the plies. Then she puts the cord in the channel, and the gripfid grips the splitting cord as she pulls it back through the other cords. Here's a gripfid made by William French. When I saw this variation, I searched the internet for hollow knitting needles and found them at KnitPicks. This video shows how I make gripfids from hollow knitting needles. The best thing is that the point is already made. These needles are nickel-plated brass. You can use aluminum needles, but only the larger sizes are hollow from size 9 on up. I make gripfids from sizes 6 to 10.5. And my gripfids are 6 1/4 inches long. So the first thing I do is mark the knitting needle at 6 1/4 inches. And the next thing I do is I cover the whole thing with masking tape from the 6 1/4 inch mark to the tip, because I'm in the shop and it's not that it's a delicate finish, but I don't want to scratch it if I can help it. So you masking tape around it and just kind of cut it off the top. The next thing I do is I cut off with a hacksaw the portion I'm not going to use. It's a double-ended knitting needle, and so there's an 1 3/4 inches that I don't need. And you'll find that you can only draw the hacksaw towards you. That it only takes about six saw cuts to cut, but it just doesn't want to go forward. You just need to pull it backward. But as you can easily see, it only takes about 6 of them just to twist it right off. And the next thing I do is I use a nail set just to get the burrs off the inside of that, just to make it nice and smooth. I use a belt sander to take any burrs off the end and to give it a slight taper. The next thing I do is measure 3/8 of an inch from the tip and mark it. And mark again at 2 1/4 inches from the tip. You need to grind into the needle with those marks until you get to the hollow core. Expose only the top. Not quite yet. You could do this with a file, but it saves a lot of time if you have a grinder. There it is. There you can see this channel, and that's about as far as you want to go. The rest of the process will be done with a file. This is my ergonomic setup, so I don't have to lean over and file. I have a small vise clamped to my bigger vise. And you'll also notice that I don't have this channel exactly, parallel with the floor. I have it so I can easily get to it. The first thing I do is clean the channel out with an old ice pick. And the second thing I do is use a file, a little jeweler's file, to start smoothing the edges of this, because the channel is going to have to not damage any of the fibers of the cords that you put in there. What you want to do is make the outer and inner walls of the channel very smooth. Now we're starting to flatten out the point area with it's an 8-inch file. It's a pretty substantial file. And you'll notice that I have to support it with my finger as I file. And you're gradually going to be taking some of the masking tape off, but that's what you do. That's what it's for, is to protect everything you're not working on. A little bit more work with the ice pick.
I don't know. You read this book and sometimes you think you got it sure of what he's saying. Sometimes, like I said, I'm no detective. But it seems to me there's not a lot of meat here. Could be it's all coincidence also. And I hate to point this out. That dating stuff just takes the dirt beneath her fingernails. Could be bad consequences.
Now with the same file, you want to bevel the edges just a little bit to help it go through the plies a little easier. The next thing I do is I wrap some 320 sandpaper. In this case, it's a 320 grit disc around the file. So believe it or not, I use sandpaper quite a bit. And now in this scene, I've wrapped it around a rat tail file, because at one end of the channel you want it flat, but at the back end you want it round. You want it to curve up. The next thing I do is I start using some finer sandpaper. I start with 400 grit, I go to 800 grit, and finish with 1200 grit sandpaper. And some people used to call this jeweler's cloth, but it's not any longer cloth. And I like to finish the Gripfids with a little knob on the end. And sometimes it really has to be drilled out to make the exact size of the knitting needle. And then I hammer it on and take the tape off, clean it with lacquer thinner, and spray the ball with preservative.